Hello, welcome back to Turdtowns, the channel that brings you the lesser known places in the UK. For good, but usually for bad reasons. Today is something a bit different, but I think it will make for an interesting video to compare two very similar places on paper, which actually turn out to be quite different when you dig deeper. Before we start, make sure you like, share and subscribe to help Turdtowns thrive. Now, unless you live under a rock, you're well aware that Cornwall is one of the most well-known places for a UK holiday with 5 million visitors a year. It has fashionable towns like St Ives, quaint fishing villages and party towns like Newquay. It has golden sand beaches everywhere, excellent ice cream, stuff for the kids, it's great for water sports, walking, climbing and camping. It also has an ever so slightly warmer climate than the rest of the UK. That won't stop it from raining all holiday though. Due to all of this, Cornwall is very well known and the price of a UK holiday here can often reach ridiculous levels. The price of parking is a joke and it can get very busy to the point that your holiday is actually stressful. But what I find is strange is that there's an almost perfect Cornwall alternative that hardly anybody mentions. Let me introduce you to Pembrokeshire. Like Cornwall in England, it's the most westerly county in Wales. You see all those things I just mentioned that Cornwall does well? Well, Pembrokeshire does them just as well. In fact, sometimes better. It's quieter here. The holiday price is a bit cheaper here, although it's still a bit silly at times. And I actually think it's better for water sports. Both counties have a long history of mining and both have suffered since the loss of that. Unless you know these places in Pembrokeshire well, it would be hard to actually tell the difference if you were in Pembrokeshire or Cornwall. So despite these two places looking very similar in a lot of ways, I still find it strange that Pembrokeshire has never received the media hype that Cornwall has. It got me wondering, why is that, and is that likely to ever change? Cornwall is a fair bit bigger than Pembrokeshire, it's 1,375 square miles compared to Pembrokeshire's 982 miles. But the biggest difference between the two places is its population. Cornwall has over 500,000 people living there with 151 people per squared kilometre, whilst Pembrokeshire only has 123,000 people and 76 people per square kilometre. So Pembrokeshire is a lot more empty. Having more settlements in an area can be a draw for visitors. I mean, look at my video I made about the Lake District. The west side is pretty empty, there isn't really many towns in the Western Lake District. The main well-known towns in Cornwall are Newquay, St Ives, Padstow, Falmouth, Bude. Well, to be honest, you can just go on naming well-known and loved towns. But for Pembrokeshire, it really only has Pembroke and one other place. And the other towns that are here are kind of bad. Imagine shelling out £1,000 for the missus to stay in some fancy beachfront property in Pembrokeshire, only for your nearest town to be Milford Haven. It kind of spoils the vibe, doesn't it? It hardly creates the mood for romance with the smell of rotten eggs, clouds of pollution and the high chance of getting a bottle lobbed at you any second. When you're on a UK holiday, you're going to have to head into town at some point. It would at least help the holiday if it was a pleasurable experience heading into town. Milford Haven and Haverfordwest are the largest towns in Pembrokeshire, both having a population a shade over 10,000 people, compared to Cornwall, who has 5 towns which are at least twice the size of that. Pembroke Town is one of your best options, but let me tell you, it is not as romantic as they make out in that one chick flick Me Before You would have you believe. Whilst the castle here is one of the best in the area, Pembroke itself is starting to look a bit sorry for itself. If you take away the castle and the river around it, it's not exactly impressive here. I do have to shout out Rowley's chip shop by the castle though, which genuinely was the most impressive chip shop I've ever visited. But that's besides the point. This town has a castle and the rest of it isn't going to impress anyone for its beauty. Interestingly, both Cornwall and Pembrokeshire only have one city each. Neither of those is exactly a bustling metropolis, but Pembrokeshire St David's takes the cake. It's a city in name only and it's much more like a village. So that leads me on to the one town in Pembrokeshire that isn't sad. It is good looking and it is somewhere that is getting more popular year on year. Tenby. Tenby is very touristy and for good reason. It's the only town in the county which is big, it's on the sea, it has golden beaches, it's got a castle, it has some shops and it has a lot of places to stay. Whilst Tenby has its own problems like many of the UK seaside towns do, it's still more aesthetically pleasing than many of the other Pembrokeshire towns. A stay here can get pricey, it's basically the St Ives of Wales. If being close to the civilization on your holiday is important to you, Tenby is really your only option, which is another reason that Cornwall is more popular, it just has more options. And talking of being close to stuff, I was shocked to learn that it's actually quicker for someone from London to visit Tenby than it is for St Ives, by about an hour. You'd think that would help Pembrokeshire's chances, but the thing is Cornwall's roads are improving every day. It's gotten so much quicker to drive down, its dual carriageway runs almost the entire length of Cornwall nowadays, whereas it's not as quite as good to get to Pembrokeshire. Wales now has 20mph speed limits around here, which can make parts of it more frustrating to drive. Large parts of Pembrokeshire don't even have A roads. The truth is that there are large parts of Cornwall which the government have forgotten about, but at the same time parts have been improved. Pembrokeshire still looks exactly the same as when I was a kid. Nobody is building anything here, it needs a bit of investment. The north of Pembrokeshire hardly even has access to the internet, and large parts don't have 4G, which is a bit ridiculous in this day and age. It's not all bad though. Pembrokeshire is probably prettier than Cornwall. People describe it as a rugged beauty. There's so many beaches here, and bear in mind that the footage you're watching was not captured in the summer, but it still looks nice with no filters on it. And I'm just showing you a few of the beaches. There are actually over 50 beaches here. It feels like every time you turn a corner a new beach or cove appears. Many of them are hard to reach, but they're well worth the visit. I've always found the surf to be better in Pembrokeshire, and who doesn't want a large empty sandy beach at the same time? Cornwall easily has Pembrokeshire beat with the number of its beaches coming in at around 300, but I believe it's quality not quantity. Plus, large parts of Pembrokeshire are rugged cliffs without beaches. You don't get that too much in Cornwall. Cornwall and Pembrokeshire both have problems with second homeowners, which has priced young people out of the market. Whilst Cornwall is still a lot more expensive on average, with 350,000 as the average to Pembrokeshire's 250,000, it's still very high for Wales. Pembrokeshire has seen some of its villages completely decimated. The village of Solva reportedly had 75% of its homes being second properties. They tackled that with a recent tax on second homes, and Cornwall is expected to follow suit soon. Cornwall is often mentioned as being the poorest county in the UK, yet somehow it has the lowest crime rate, which is just hard to wrap your head around. And this is where the major difference between the two counties becomes apparent. Whilst Cornwall is the safest county in the UK with a crime rate of only 40 in 1,000, Pembrokeshire is the complete opposite. Plenty of parts of Pembrokeshire have a crime rate of over 150 in 1,000. The worst crime rate in Cornwall is in Liskeard with 95 in 1,000, but in Pembrokeshire you have Haverfordwest with 190 in 1,000, a huge difference. I can't explain the high crime in this part of Wales, and it certainly doesn't feel like you're in a place with a lot of crime, but a fact is a fact. Pembrokeshire also has its own problems with poverty. Recent studies show a 35% of children in Pembrokeshire live in poverty. Recent times have hit Pembrokeshire hard as the price of travelling is up about 15%, and you have to do a lot of travelling if you live around here. Studies show a typical Pembrokeshire worker is £350 worse off than anywhere else in the UK, so this isn't just a Cornwall problem. Overall, these are very similar counties at a glance, but as you delve a bit deeper, the differences are clear to see. The Instagram type people have not fully discovered Pembrokeshire yet and led to a rise in prices and tourist development. Those people are hardly capable of operating a car as they're too high on their own farts. They have no chance of driving on the single track Pembrokeshire roads, their egos wouldn't fit. After visiting everywhere in Pembrokeshire, I actually think this is a bit of a place which could benefit from some investment. But there must be a limit to not destroy the rugged beauty. Haverfordwest has a lot of potential with its history, castles and rivers to be a tourist hub for the county, but instead it's a rundown hellhole. They need to do something about the high crime rate here, it's not something you would expect. It's kind of ironic that Cornwall is the poorest county in the UK, yet it feels like it's more advanced than Pembrokeshire. Pembrokeshire is definitely an unspoiled county, in fact it's so unspoilt that it's to its detriment. If Cornwall is rammed with tourists every year, it probably should be here too, and not just Tenby, I'm talking about the whole county. So next summer, when it comes to booking your holiday, definitely give Pembrokeshire a look in, but expect a bit of a quieter time. Apart from that, you'll hardly notice a difference. But if you were to choose to live in one of these places full time, you would feel the difference, especially with that crime rate and the poor roads in Pembrokeshire. So that's that. Make sure to subscribe because I promise to do a weekly upload for a while and you don't want to miss any of our upcoming Turdtowns episodes and extra nuggets. And thank you all for watching, my friends. Take care.